Hey there, Cancer. How you doing? So this is your 2-week forecast, starting with the new moon in Taurus on the 27th of April and taking you right the way through to the full moon in Scorpio on the 12th of May. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front that this isn't as dramatic as some of the other weeks we've had in the past. It's not to say that world events aren't taking place, because it seems to me like lots of things have been revealed and set in motion in recent days. There are some things rocking us. But what I really notice in the astrology right now is that a lot of the deep internal changes that have been going on for you and me and everyone else, a lot of those have already taken place. So I think we've done a lot of our soul searching earlier this month, and this is where a lot of our internal changes are already starting to take place. So I actually think this 2-week period is going to not go easy on us, but I think we've got a new route that's evolving. So it's from that perspective that I'm really doing this reading. If you're new to this channel, my name's Louisa Tanner Munson, and what I want to do in this forecast is gently take you through some of the biggest aspects going on. They're like, where planets are connecting, and sort of interpret it for you in such a way that life feels a bit easier, that it doesn't feel like a challenge. Sometimes, you hear that like Mars and Pluto are in opposition and it sounds like the world is going to come to an end. And that's not what I want to do. I'm trying to build resources to, give you a sense of hope and optimism. That's my idea here with Feel Good Astrology. If you've come back, if you've been here before, then welcome back. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. So let's get cracking. Let's bring up some slides and let's have a good look at this. So let's first thing I want to just quickly bring, make it really clear right now is we're going through the waxing moon phase. So obviously the new moon is on the 27th of April. It's a new moon in Taurus, and I'll talk about where that is in your chart and so on and so forth. I should say this is good for you if you're a Cancerian, or if you've got your ascendant in the sign of Cancer. Is super powerful. I prefer these actually in terms of an ascendant reading, but they really, really work for the sun as well. So, FYI, if your ascendant is something different, don't forget to check out this, that forecast as well. I'm a Sun Sagittarius and a Scorpio ascendant. I would check out both Scorpio and Sagittarius. So anyway, when this forecast starts, we're at the new moon in Taurus, and you can see in this picture here, the new moon, it appears dark. Obviously it's not dark. The moon is still the moon, but it appears dark to us. And really what's going on, I think, is that we've got a clean slate, and we're in the mystery. We don't necessarily know what's about to happen. And it feels like we've got a bit of a clear space, a bit of a clearing. Maybe it's a bit like the calm before the storm. And that actually kind of fits, because this is the calm moment, and the full moon is a bit like the storm moment. It doesn't have to be a storm, but it's high energy and it's all highly illuminated where you can really see it. And of course, if there's a storm going on, it's so big that you absolutely notice it. So we are in many ways going from a calm moment of space and mystery and peace, where we really have to tune in and really try to hear what our intuition is saying to us, really tune into our body too, and go deep inside. And then slowly the moon appears to be growing. Obviously it's not growing, but if you see here, it's like non-existent. And then you get a slither of it as we get midway through in the first week. You've got half of it on show, and then it appears to be getting bigger and bigger until we get to the full moon. That's what the waxing is. It's getting bigger, 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 bigger. And it's almost like life picks up speed. Whatever energy you've put into your world thus far seems to manifest faster and faster. So suffice to say, the first week is a lot more intuitive and a lot slower and less intentional. I mean, you might be actually not less intentional. You can be creating ideas in your mind and feeling them in your body to see if they feel right. But as we get to the first quarter stage, it's really time to start taking physical action. So what I think is, as this goes on, you get more and more externalized and more active. And at the start, it's really an internal journey. But let's have a look at it from a different perspective. So in this picture here, so I quite like a diary view. You can see this is like usually you'll see this is exactly 2 weeks, and occasionally it's just ever so slightly more than 2 weeks. But, we're doing this according to a moon cycle, not a calendar cycle. So you got the new moon in Taurus on Sunday, the 27th. The midpoint is on the 4th of May, the following Sunday. And then the full moon in Scorpio, I think, is early in the morning on Monday. Now, I've only listed the biggest aspects, when things are exact. So for instance, here on Friday the 2nd, Venus makes an exact conjunction, like they're in the same place, Venus and Neptune together. This is the day when Venus goes into Aries. That's the day when Mercury goes into Taurus. These sign changes are like planetary, planets are moving into a new sign. They're showing a change in the energy. So, for instance, Venus is all about the flow, the femininity, the feeling of graciousness, well-being, connection. And going into Aries, coming out of Pisces, I would say we're getting a bit more direct. We're taking a bit more responsibility. We're taking action for our relationships. If we want to connect with people a bit more, we'll be a lot more vocal about it and a lot more physical. So Venus is going into quite a physical time, which can be good if you're new in a relationship, or if you're making some commitment to yourself, for instance, about well-being and health and things like that, then this is quite helpful. In this next part, in week 2, we've got sextiles, which I don't normally talk about so much because they're not as big as the conjunctions and squares and oppositions and trines. But these are building blocks. So we've got this lovely Mercury-Jupiter building block, which is really helping us to talk more and to be quite upbeat with our friends. So the 5th is I would say, quite a friendship day. The 6th, we've got Venus in a sextile to Pluto, which can be quite sexy. It's really putting the sex into that sextile. It's also very deep. Our feelings are so, so deep. We might feel really sort of certain about our emotions on that day, a very strong day. We've also got Mercury in a conjunction to Chiron, where we're talking a lot more openly, transformatively. We're having a lot more transformative conversations. We're a lot more transparent and vulnerable and open. And so that's quite a nice energy. But none of these are particularly big energies. These weeks, there's not a whole heap of stuff going on. In the previous months, there's been loads of things going on. So, I do think we're going to get a chance to catch our breath a little bit and to reflect. Now, the 2 biggest days, funnily enough, are actually these moons. So the new moon in Taurus is the day when Mars and Pluto go into their final opposition of this series. I'll talk about that in a sec when I show you the charts. And then on the full moon in Scorpio on the 12th of May, the end of this forecast period, the moon goes into opposition with Uranus and the sun's in a conjunction with Uranus. So it's really highly charged. So they're the 2 main days. So what I'm going to do now is going to bring up the charts. But actually, before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that sponsors this channel in the ways that they do. Whether you're a member of my Feel Good Astrology community, or whether you buy me a coffee, or there's so many different ways that people have found to sponsor this channel and to help me out. So I really, really thank you. I really see you. And I just wanted to kind of name you, just celebrate you. So thank you so much. Right, let's have a deeper look. So I've got 3 charts here. The new moon in Taurus. So there's the new moon, and it's activating this sort of 11th house experience for you, which is all about friendships and networks. I also think of it as a law of attraction house, which is quite helpful, in terms of setting new goals and really feeling into the energy of it. You'll see the opposition between Pluto and Mars. So very strong. Really strong. And the new moon is feeding into this. This is a very, very dynamic day, and will really set the tone for the weeks ahead. Then I've got the first quarter moon phase. That's halfway through. So by this point, the moon has ended up here. It's in your 2nd house to do with money. And again, that's a really kind of important time as well, because the moon makes a conjunction with Mars, and also an opposition with Pluto. So that's a strong day. And then right at the end, we've got this full moon in Scorpio. So there's the moon. The moon has made it around to here. So at the beginning of the forecast, the moon is here in Taurus. It goes all the way around to here. So you see the moon is in opposition to the sun, which really brings out the sort of craziness in people, especially, when the sun is in a conjunction with Uranus, the planet of change and innovation, but also shocks and starts and stops. It's very innovative, but it's very, very rebellious, and it can really bring up some tension. Now, this is a really tense moment, and you can still see that the Mars and Pluto opposition is still going on. So it's a very, very big day. So what I'm going to do is just quickly talk you through these in a way that hopefully it'll give you a sense of how that really relates to you as a Cancerian. 1 second. So in terms of this 2 weeks ahead then, I think the way it's starting is, I think it's important to just focus on this T-square, which was kind of how I ended the last 2-week forecast. There's this, I think, intense yearning for something new to be created, for something that feels like you're creating something in the world, something that maybe more people need, that you want to connect much further out of your usual intimate space. But there's this feeling of a new start, and a new practical start as well. Like I said, to me, this is the house of the law of attraction, where you are co-creating either with other people or very much with life, with God, with the universe, however you have it in your head. So to me, this feels like the start of a new intentional journey to spread your wings much further than your original career. So I don't know how you feel about your career, but to me, it feels like your career can only evolve and your life can evolve as you maybe come into a better feeling place, coming into a feeling place of, is this matching my purpose? Is this matching my dream for humanity? There's a much bigger sort of emphasis on getting the emotions right. And so this new moon in Taurus, I think, is a real sort of sowing the seed point. Now, this is in a T-square, this new moon. And so Mars and Pluto are in opposition, exact opposition on the day of the new moon. Now, Mars is in the second house, really showing that you really do want to take stock of your money. You really want to take direct action to make sure you get more money or better resources, better results. You might even be quite competitive with yourself. So I really get the feeling that it's time for you to do something different, something bold, something daring, and also something whereby you're celebrating yourself a lot more. Like the sign of Leo is more about celebrating your sovereignty, and so your money, your the opportunities to make more money are coming through the celebration of yourself, and through being quite excited by what you're able to produce. Now, on the other end of the scale, Pluto showing up in this 8th house is maybe showing a fear of moving on, possibly a fear and also excitement about transformation. Pluto is about our fears, but really shows where we transform, when we recognize our fears and move beyond them. And this part of the chart, the 8th house, Pluto's really quite comfortable in the 8th house, I have to say. He really matches it quite well. But, the 8th house, as far as I can see, is a place where where you and your intentions meet other people's visions and values too, and the kind of mess that exists in between. So the judgments and the values other people might have on you or put on you, and also where you're judging other people as well, and that kind of awkwardness in between. It also shows where you're moving up in the cycle of life. It represents the birth, the life, the death, and the recycling, the rebirth, the reincarnation. And so I think there's something about a rites of passage here. So on the one hand, you're really wanting to take work into your own hands and earn money in a whole new way. And yet Pluto is saying, oh, Are you ready for that step? That step feels like it's a bit too much. And what about all these other judgments other people have put on you, or the judgments that you have about yourself because of the shared space? This is also a place of shared money and shared investments. And so there might be some fears in terms of family money and how that might come to you. So through inheritances or your partner's money and stuff like that. So you may well also feel competitive with the people in your life and allow it to stop you so you don't take that next step. So here, this new moon point here is really encouraging you to kind of come out of the shared space with your partner and your family and all of their values, and also to come out of this space here, but to really see what you do with a sense of purpose. What's going to make a greater difference to the people you serve? What's going to make a greater difference in how you feel about yourself when you make a bigger difference in the world? So I think you're kind of coming out of the original conflict and seeing it in another way, just thinking, okay, which path takes me closer to my purpose? And that's the one I'm going to manifest. And so you might be doing it through the law of attraction. And of course, the new moon's a great time to do that. And in the waxing moon phase is perfect for setting yourself some new goals and a new direction. But you might also have some friends and influential people that you can do it with as well. So I see this as being really, really helpful. Now, something else I notice, so we've got this big old T square, and also Chiron is, squaring both Pluto, only just. It's like a really wide square, but is in it like in a very wide space to Mars as well. But there's a lot more really helpful components going on as well. So even though there's this kind of stressful understructure, there's some helpful things going on as well. And so the new move of Neptune coming into your 10th house could be bringing compassion and creativity, a lot more compassion and creativity. So you're creating something in a new way, creating something and taking real action on it, with Neptune in Aries. Mercury's in Aries right now. So your communication is a lot more direct. You're less fluffy. And that's quite helpful. It's getting things moving, And Mars is the ruler of your 10th house. And so things are moving forwards quite well. Venus is obviously going into Aries on the 30th. And, as Venus comes across as well, I really feel there's a touch of glamour coming in that's exciting. And Mercury, Saturn and Venus in a sextile with Uranus also is helping new insights and fresh thinking to come in. So there's this lovely sort of helpful energy. Also Uranus in where is he? Just in a really, really wide sextile to Mars, and in a short trine to Pluto. But Uranus is also helping to relieve some of the tension, again, between what am I creating right now and am I being competitive with myself and self-sabotaging? Uranus here is saying, be innovative, be creative, be rebellious, be independent, shock yourself, do something new. So there is definitely this feeling of change. And so, the more creative, the more change-based you are in your focus, and the more you're tuning into your focus, I think the more your life is moving, which I really love. I see this as a great potential time for you. As we go through this particular time, like at the first quarter moon phase, when it's time to start to get a bit quicker with what you're manifesting, to me, it really feels like there's this, like the moon comes into a conjunction with Mars, and also into an opposition with Pluto. This is really creating a lovely sense of immediacy. I think things are moving a lot quicker, much, much quicker. So I love this a lot. And the sun in a square to Mars, and also in a square to the moon, I think is also bringing a sense of immediacy. So, these trines and these sextiles are getting stronger and stronger as we're going through this 2-week period. And so what I would say is ride the tensions, but get excited by where it's easy and where it's quick and where it's moving faster and faster. As we come into the end of this period, we've got this, I think this is really quite great, this very, very speedy full moon in Scorpio. And so by that time, the moon is down here in this fifth area of your chart. Now, this fifth area, this fifth house area, is all about your creativity and your desire to create on your own. And so you may well be feeling quite fiery in terms of how you are creating with other people. You might be feeling a bit of a tension. Maybe the changes that you're making are being met with a little bit of conflict. Maybe it's time to change some of the people that you're interacting with. To me, it feels like there's a bit of a creative conflict. You know, as full moons go, going across, you know, the 5th and the 11th isn't so bad. It's not such a bad thing. However, I do think that you might want to have a bit more peace and quiet in terms of how creative you're being. You may well have been a little bit too consultative, and at the time of the full moon, you're really taking back that consultation and really focusing on what you want. So there's a few of my thoughts about this period for you, Cancer. I hope that's helpful, and you know, I look forward to I look forward to sharing some more information at a later date. Now, you know, obviously I've mentioned a little bit about your career and not so much about your love. You know, this is the general forecast. But if you are wanting to look a little bit deeper, which so many are right now, and who could blame you, I do have a membership. This is my Feel Good Astrology membership. I host it on school.com. That's SKOOL. You get your first week free. So you get a free trial. So, you know, you can try before you buy. And then it's $22 a month and you can cancel at any time. But what I offer with these is every 2 weeks. So every time I do my 2-week forecast, every new moon or full moon, you get a relationships and connections forecast for for all 12 signs of the zodiac. So for instance, you could check out your sun sign, your ascending sign, your ascendant, your rising sign. You could look at the signs of your partners, your children, your bosses, your crush, you know, and you know, I do look at a much deeper level in terms of your relationships and connections. I also look at your career and ambition forecast. So you get 2 of those each month, you know, a relationship and a career forecast on the new moon and on the full moon. So that's quite a nice little thing. I also have a monthly hangout. So, you know, if you wanted to connect and if you want to connect with other people within the group, you know, leading up to the hangout, we had it last night, by the way, but, you know, I'll put a shout out and say, write down what you want to explore. And right now in the group, we've been exploring the patterns that are recurring for us and really seeing the true power of astrology, seeing how, you know, all of our life events or a lot of our life events and the people in our life, their birthdays all match our birth chart so beautifully. So we're learning a lot about that. If you have been thinking about getting a consultation or doing a course with me, or maybe a webinar, they're going to be coming up soon, then there are going to be discounts, or there are discounts for you once you've come out of the free trial period. And there's lots of other little bits and pieces that might be helpful to you. This gives you an idea of what the timeline looks like. You know, so it's just a place to come and hang out with like-minded people if you want to, or you can just pop by for the 4 extra forecasts that you get each month. So, you know, that's my offer to you if that sounds appealing. To me, I think it's a bit like, you know, lots of people think about a reading, you know, and I think the membership is a little bit like a halfway place from the channel, watching me here, to actually having a reading. You can like come into this mid space and hear a little bit more about your sign and all the other signs, and also learn on the go as well. So anyway, have a fabulous 2-week period. And if you want more, you can. All the details are below. Just look in the description field. But if not, I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time with some more forecasts. But anyway, take care and speak to you real soon. Bye for now.